Okay, the Fox family is going on a vacation. They rented a car for 4 days for $284. So let's set up our proportion. We have $284 for 4 days. I want to know what it is for 1 day. Okay, cross multiply and divide. So 1 times 284 is 284. 284 divided by 4. 4 doesn't go into 2, but 4 goes into 28 7 times, which is 28. Subtract and bring down. 4 goes into 4 1 time. Exactly. So we get 71 for our K value, 71 for our constant of proportionality or unit rate. Those are all the same thing. So it's $71 per day. Our equation then is y equals our K, so 71x. Then they asked us when x is 3, what's the y value going to be? So this is when we substitute it in. Y equals 71 times our x, which they told me is 3, so 71 times 3. Do that math out real quick. 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 7 is 21, so we get 213. And then finally it's asking, well, what does that represent? So remember, go back to the original problem. They're talking about for 4 days it's $284. So here this is saying for 3 days it costs $213. Okay, go back and think about what the units are. Now let's go ahead and do the table and graph. So again, time is always independent, so days here. And then what's depending on that? The money that they pay depends on how many days they rent the car. And then we can substitute in. So remember, it's y equals 71x. So I'm going to substitute in for 0. 71 times 0 is 0. And I can do 71 times 1. I'm going to write it sideways because I cannot write that small. So 71. 71 times 2. Do the workout. It's 142. 71 times 3, we actually just did that on the last page. It was 213. And 71 times 4 is the original number they gave us, which was 284. Okay. Remember, you can always substitute it into the equation and solve it that way. Now let's talk about this graph real quick. Actually, here, let me move that up a little bit more. So our dependent is going to go up the side. Our independent always goes across the bottom. That's our x. So days is going down here, and money up here. Again, they didn't give us any numbers, so that makes it easier. We can skip count by the unit rate. So here's my 0, and then 71, 142, 213, 284, and so on. And then for days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then add your points out of all of your dots. So for 0 days, $0. Remember, it should always be going through 0, 0. 1 day, $71. 2 days was 142. 3 days was 213. 4 days was 284. Remember, these should be going in a straight line, and we should have an arrow at the end that says it keeps going. All right, it took Maya 6 minutes to read 7.5 pages in her book. So let's find the unit rate. So I want to know how many pages per minute, not how many minutes per page. So 7.5 pages for 6 minutes. And I want to know what it is for 1 minute. Cross multiply. 7.5 times 1 is 7.5. Divide by 6. Again, you could change this to decimals if you prefer. I'm just going to leave it. 7.5 divided by 6. Go ahead and do my cartwheel. 7 times 2 is 14 plus 1 is 15 halves. Remember, this is really 6 over 1, so if I can make it into common denominators by multiplying by 2, will be 12 halves. And then right here, I can divide across, so 15 twelfths. You can go ahead and simplify it, or you can go ahead and make it a mixed number and then simplify. Either way is fine. So 15 divided by 12. 12 goes into 15 one time, with 3 left over, so that's 1 3/12. Or when I simplify that, divide both by 3, I get 1 1/4. Okay, so 1 1/4 is my unit rate. Then my equation, y equals my unit rate, 1 1/4 x. Then they ask me a question, how long will it take Maya to read 12 pages? So let's set it back up in my proportion. Again, you can use that unit rate or you can go back and use the original. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to use the unit rate just because it's a smaller number. Hopefully that'll help make it a little easier. We'll see. So 1 1/4 pages for 1 minute. I want to know what it is for 12 pages. So pages is on top. I got to put this on top. So cross multiply, 12 times 1 is 12, and then divide by 1 1/4. So 12 over 1 divided by 1 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and do my cartwheel here. So 12 over 1 divided by 5/4. Okay. Make these common denominators. So this 12 over 1, I'm going to go ahead and change to fourths. So times 4. 12 times 4 will make this 48. So 48/4. And then right here, 48 divided by 5. 48 over 5. 48 divided by 5. Well, I know 5 times 10 is 50, so 9. 9 times 5 is 45. With 3 left over, right here is my mixed number answer, 9 3/5 hours. Again, I know it was a tricky one. If you did it as a decimal, maybe that would have been easier for you. That's totally fine. But we can get there. Set up your proportion, make sure your units are lined up, and then cross multiply, divide. Let's go ahead and do our chart real quick. So our minutes is our independent. Remember, they just keep ticking away. They don't depend on anything. But the pages depend on how many minutes she reads. She can read more pages, right? Those are our dependents. So we have y equals 1 1/4 x, or if you want to write it as 1 as a decimal, 1.25 x, you can do that. And then use it to substitute in to find these answers. So for 1 minute, our unit rate, we already know that's for 1 minute. So 1.25 or 1 1/4. For 3 minutes, we'd substitute it in. So 1.25 times 3. 1.25 times 3. 15, carry my 1, 7, 3, put my decimal back in. So I get 3.75. Or if you did it as a fraction, it's 3 3/4. Oops, sorry. For 6, so I can do 1.25 times 6. Okay, that's 30. Carry my 3, 12 plus 3 is 15. Carry my 1, 7. Put my decimal back in. I get 7.5. Or again, if you did it as a fraction, 7 1/2. Then I have my 9, so 1.25 times 9. Give myself a little bit of space here. So I'm going to do 1.25 times 9. 9 times 5 is 45. Carry my 4. 18 plus 4 is 22. And 9 plus 2 is 11. Put my decimal back in. 11.25 or 11 1/4. Okay. 9.6, that seems random. We could multiply it right now, or really, that's what we just did right here. The 9 3/5 is 6/10. So we already know that that is for 12 pages. And then 10, 1.25 times 10. If you know the trick, you know you can just move your decimal over once, or I can show you here. We will get 5, 2, 1, and put that decimal back in right here. So we're getting 12.5 or 12.5. Whew. Okay, notice those did not go up pretty, so don't always just skip count. You need to pay attention to what the numbers are they're giving us, and then we should do our graph. So this is not a pretty graph, not at all, but that is okay. So again, make it easier on yourself and just count by the number. So 1 1/4. The next one would really be 2.5. Then I would have 3 3/4. And then 5, that's good enough. Down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is our pages. These are our minutes. Okay, and then your dots, 0, 0. For 1 minute, it was 1 1/4. For 2 minutes was 2.5. 3 was 3 3/4. 4 would be 5 minutes. And we could keep going. Remember, you should have your line and your arrow as well. And that is it, guys. Hopefully the ones we'll give you in the future are not quite as bad numbers, but you can